For today's project, we're going to be needing a reference image. So you see here, I've just searched phone stand in Google, and yeah, you can just go ahead and find an image that you'd like. You'll notice most of these designs seem to have a very simple shape, with this side profile being one shape and that being copied across. This will make it very easy to model, so just look through and find one that you like. Also, feel free to make your own if you want. I think this one will be good for us today, so I'll be using this and I'll just download the image. Now we can get to designing. You'll see I have an open page here, a new design page, and to the left I also have my reference image. Before we start making this main phone stand though, I'm going to go ahead and model a fake version of my phone that we can use as a reference. To do that, I'm just going to start with a sketch on the front face, and I'll go ahead and draw a rectangle from the origin. I'm going to give it the same dimensions as my phone, which you might have to either search online if you know the model, or you can also measure it. So I think mine was around 150 and 70. So finish sketch, and I'll go ahead and extrude it also, about 8. You'll see now I have a fake version of my phone, and what we're going to do is we're going to switch to the right side view, and I'm going to be showing you how to use this move tool so we can put it at the right angle like this. We can either click this move tool or use M to select it, and I'm going to place the move tool at the very center of my phone. Then I'm going to go back to this side view, and I'm going to use this arrow to drag it up, let's say 5 centimeters, and I'm also going to rotate it to an angle that I like. I like 30. So I'm going to click OK. Now we can actually start by designing this profile of our phone stand. How I'm going to do that is by starting a sketch on this right side, and I'm actually going to make a gap between the real phone and my sketch. So to do that, I'm just going to start by drawing 2 lines like this. And I don't need it to go all the way since I know my phone stand isn't that far up, but I'm going to make sure that these lines are parallel with the edges of the phone using the parallel constraint. Don't worry about the exact details since we'll go ahead and use other constraints to lock it in later. But right now what I'm going to do is just try to copy the general shape of the phone. Sometimes it's hard to get the lines perfectly aligned, which is completely fine. You can always do it later on. You just want to make a general shape. It might look a little bit crazy now, but we'll go ahead and fix it later, so don't worry. You just want to get the baselines there. Now, one thing I'm going to go ahead and do is I'll use the horizontal and vertical tool to fix this unconstrained line, and also this one because I know I want it to be straight. Next, I'm going to go ahead and make sure all of these lines are parallel. So I'm going to click the parallel constraint and use it on each of these sides. That looks good. And now that we have this general shape, we can go ahead and try setting some dimensions. So one thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that this bottom line is snapped using the coincident tool to the origin. And then I'm going to go ahead and make sure this line is also very close to the phone by setting a dimension of, for now we can just say 0.5. It really doesn't matter, you could even snap it closer, doing a really small number. But for our case, since I might be 3D printing it, I want to make sure there's a bit of a gap just in case the print expands. So I'm going to go ahead and do 0.5. For this one, I want a bit more of a gap so I can easily put in my phone. So maybe I can go with a couple millimeters more, like 5. And now I'm just going to go ahead and set the side lengths. So one way to do that is just by using the dimension tool. And if you know you want them all to be the same, you can go ahead and click the other dimension and that'll make it fixed. So you can have it highlighted here and click the dimension you want to match it to. can go ahead and do the same thing. It doesn't matter if you do it to a different dimension that's already linked back to the original one. You can do it however you like. You'll see here we have a lot of dimensions, but there's still a couple things we need to set down. So one more is this angle. Go ahead and do 70. And let's see what else can change. Looks like this length can change. So one thing I could do is I could set a length for this. Let's say 140. And I'll just go ahead and set a couple more dimensions. So I'll go ahead and do this side length as well. You can either set a dimension manually, or you can also snap this point to the middle of this line. It's completely up to you. And I'll just go ahead and do this final one. This looks good to me, so I'm going to do finish sketch. And now I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to extrude it out. Selecting the face using the extrude tool, and instead of doing distance, I'm going to do to object and click the other side of the phone. You'll see you want to just select this face instead of the whole phone. And we can click OK for this extrusion. Now that we have our shape made, I'm going to go ahead and use the fillet tool to fix up a few of the edges. You can of course do them at the same time if you want them to be the same. For example, like these two edges. But it's also completely up to you. You'll notice if you can't select all of the edges, you can also go to bodies and toggle off the phone and see if that helps. Now that we have this basic shape, I'm going to go ahead and show you how to add these extra features, one of which is a slot for the charger to go through. To do that, I'm going to start with a sketch on this face. However, I'm going to go ahead and project a few of these edges. So one is this one, and one is this one. Now what I'm going to want to do is I'm going to try to draw a rectangle that goes from this line to this line, somewhere in the middle. So I'll drop the rectangle and see if I can snap it to the right point. Yep, it looks like it's on both of the purple points. And to center the rectangle, I'm going to create a point dragged along. I'm going to try to create a point on the black rectangle, so anywhere is fine. And then I'm going to just drag it along until I see the triangle mark, which shows that it's in the center of my smaller rectangle. Now I can drag this point along until I see another triangle, which will show it's the center of this other line, and that will snap it perfectly. You'll see there are actually two midpoint triangle constraints here, one for the middle of this line and one for this greater line. If you have trouble doing that, you can also create another point on the purple line and then snap those 2 points together. For us this works, so I'm going to go ahead and just add our final dimension here. This will depend on how big your charger is. Mine is not very big, so I think I can get away with something like maybe even less than 20, like 15. And I'm going to finish sketch. Now all that's left to do is click the extrude tool, select all of these faces, and I'm going to extrude a distance to this inner side. And I'll click OK. This will make it a cut. And you'll notice it actually doesn't go deep enough the way we made it. So we'll go ahead and we'll click this face now, and we're just going to drag it. We're going to use the extrude tool and we're going to drag it down. And this should actually go using the to object to the back of the phone, since we know the phone charger is somewhere there. If you can't see the back of the phone, you can toggle off the body. You can click the back of the phone and you can toggle it back on. And this will make the slot a little bit longer, so we'll click OK. And you'll notice one thing it did that we didn't want was it actually cut the phone itself. So to fix that, we can go ahead and edit the feature, and we can toggle off the phone and then cut. This will make it only cut this piece. When we put the phone back, you'll see it's still there, and we have a perfect slot. You'll notice we had to cut it in two parts here because we wanted to just get this lip part cut, and then we wanted to cut the bottom edge around here of the phone stand. Now, another thing they have is a hole in the back for the charger to go through, so I'm going to go ahead and make that as well. To do that, I'm going to make a sketch on this back face, and since I want this slot to be in the very center, I'm going to have to find the center of this rectangle. One easy way that I often do that is I use a rectangle, and I'm going to draw it from this corner to anywhere in the middle. But what you can actually do is just draw two lines, however you'd like. For me, I'm going to drag these lines until I see that midpoint triangle, or I can of course select the triangle midpoint constraint itself. Very quickly, I now have the center of the rectangle. At this point, I'll just go ahead and make these construction. There are many ways to find the center of the rectangle. You could draw a line from here to there. You could draw individual lines like this out from the center, or you could do this rectangle, this mini rectangle. Now that we have that, I'm going to go ahead and use the slot tool, choosing the center point slot this time, and I'll start at the middle. I'll drag it straight down and out. Then all that's left to do is to get the dimension set. We can of course drag it out and see how we like it. I think 50 is good for me, so I can finish sketch. And I'm just going to go ahead and extrude. Again, we'll be doing the to object extent and clicking this interface. It should make it a cut operation. Click OK, and you'll see you have your very own phone stand complete. Of course, if you want, you could add designs perhaps here or on the sides, adding patterns or lettering like we learned before, but for now I'll just keep it like this. Feel free to customize.